Hello, my name is Owen, and I am back. I am back to Malazan. About time. It's been about 6 months since I finished the Book of the Fallen. It took me about a year to read. It was a love-hate relationship. I loved it because it was great. I hated it because I was too stupid to understand it. But finally, I took a break, but now I'm back to the Malazan world. I read Knight of Knives by Ian C. Esslemont, and I'm here to tell you all about it. First things first, when I opened that book, it was a digital copy, so when I clicked that book, it was like being welcomed home when I saw that list of characters and I saw some familiar faces on there. I'm like, this is going to be a ride. Because even though I'll get into it, but I was still a little bit confused in the Malazan way, I felt a lot smarter going into this book than I ever have in a Malazan book before. The fact that Esslemont decided to start with the Knight of Knives, Dancer and Kelvin's rise to the Shadow Throne, I'm like, I know this story. I know how it ends, so I could just kind of enjoy the plot and not have to like decode like the strange stuff that's going on. And there was still like I said, we'll get into it. But anyway, it was very not relaxing, but it was a comforting way to be reintroduced to Malazan with these such like iconic characters, like getting to see them up front. And that's one of the things I really liked about this book is that we get some upfront close look at characters who in the Book of the Fallen series, they're either like more mysterious or they're mythos, or they're like above, or they're heroes of the past. Decem Altor, I think it's Dassem Altor, maybe something like that. We had never gotten a close-up look with him in the Book of the Fallen when he was like fighting as a soldier, as the first sword of the Malazan Empire. We get some dialogue, we get some interaction with him, and I love him as a character. I think Temper as a POV character, absolutely fantastic. I love him. And Kiska, the other POV character, they are both great characters, both great vehicles for this story. I liked the subtle, badass, quiet, reserved Temper, which I feel like is the archetype we get a lot in Malazan, and then Kiska as the confused, like basically insert character, because like when she was confused about stuff, I was also confused about them, so it was nice to have like a friend on the inside rather than like classic Malazan where like the characters know stuff that I don't know, so therefore like they're just moving on stuff that they're keeping from me. But Kiska was like, what's going on here? I'm like, I don't know, we need to figure this stuff out. But like we get like upfront looks of like Tayshrin and like get him as a better character, because like throughout all of Malazan Book of the Fallen, I was not sure like what this guy's deal is. Like, is he a good guy, is he a bad guy? And I mean, I guess I still really don't know, but it was nice to have him as like a hero or like an aid to the protagonist in a story. So that was nice to see him up close, see his power thread. We get a little bit of Surly before she becomes the Empress, which is awesome. And then obviously like Dancer, Kelvin, the rise to power. It was a great story. It was a great reintroduction. However, that's not to say I thought the book was perfect. I do think it was a weak book. Not that I didn't like it. It's just that, like I said, I was confused, and that is par for the course for a Malazan book. But the times where I was confused, it didn't feel the same as Book of the Fallen. Book of the Fallen confused is like, I don't know what's going on, but I can enjoy scene to scene, because I know eventually it'll click. But this one, I was more confused about things like where exactly characters were in relation to each other, or who they were talking to, or what their goals were, and they were things that were explained. So for Kiska's character, she was bouncing around a lot, and I got confused a lot, like who she was working for, who she was trying to get messages to, who she ran into, and because I just got muddled a lot. And also like locations wise, like there were moments when Temper and Kiska kind of like bump into each other, which I thought were like really cool moments of like seeing other character or Kiska's perspective of Temper like from an outsider's view. But then I was just confused, like, I'm like, you guys are in the same building? I didn't even realize that, because they're like jumping like through wardens a lot and like landing in different buildings, and it was hard for me to like visualize it, which I feel like is a different kind of confusion than Malazan me not knowing or understanding the world. And I think that's a fault of the author not being clear in their writing. So it was a little bit more of a frustrating confusion, and I think it was a little bit more to the writing style. And like I said with it was mostly with Kiska's story arc, I would say, because she's like working for a lot of people who go under different names, and I don't remember, like Tayshrin has a different name when we first meet him, but I didn't remember if he was the one that Kiska was trying to meet to begin with, or she ran into her later as a different name and they were switching names. It was confusing in a bad way. I'll say that. It wasn't confusing in an intriguing way. Because other than that, the story was fairly straightforward, especially because I knew how it ended, with them obviously achieving the Shadow Throne. I think the other plots that I wasn't aware of, like with like the Storm Riders coming in, I was fairly able to grasp that, and like, any confusion was like in the Malazan way, where like I'm not supposed to understand it yet, and I was fine with that. But it was a little frustrating, like their writing style got a little muddled, got me a little confused, that I couldn't visualize it, which is a problem, I think. And hopefully the author irons that out. From what I've read, The Knight of Knives is like a weak start to his series, and like Return of the Crimson Guard, which is the second one, is supposed to be really, really strong. And I'm excited for that because honestly, I didn't have that many problems with this book. I really did enjoy it. I enjoyed the characters, and I enjoyed the addition to the Malazan lore, and it just made me one step more invested. Because like I said, the big characters of Malazan Book of the Fallen are kind of like legends, like Shadow Throne, Cotillion, and like to see them like before that and before, and like seeing during the events which are just a legend, or just like kind of like not legend, I guess like just like iconic moments in like that world's history, to see them up close, it's a lot of fun. It's like basically like reading a history book in Malazan Book of the Fallen and then being like, but I'll take you there, and then like you go there, and also looking at the wikis afterwards, like I didn't realize that like Temper and Kiska are like in the main series. And that was a lot of fun too, so that's going to make my inevitable reread of like the Book of the Fallen even more like, I know that guy, I know what he's about, I know where they come from, and that's a lot of fun too. So yeah, I'm really excited to continue this series. I'm so invested in this world now, and I'll keep you guys updated on the way. So be sure to subscribe.